The story of the parent in search of her child continues in the twisted kindergarten, which experimented on a variety of people to create very human mascots, which would eventually backfire as these mascots would fight back. In search for the Queen Bouncelia's scepter, the protagonist goes deeper and deeper into the abyss of the kindergarten, where she finds a briefing video about the monsters employees could encounter, depicting how employees beneath the kindergarten were fully aware of the sickening experiments that they were conducting and had protocols in any case of emergency if the subjects of their experiments would have a breakdown and decide to escape. Now, with the majority of the mascots under the spell of Sir Dadadoo, the protagonist is walking on thin ice, being in a great risk of losing her life, possibly the most dangerous part of her journey so far, depicting how far she is willing to go and how much she is prepared to risk to rescue her child. That's when she comes into a dark warehouse with multiple green-like creatures, clearly the results of the experiments with Givanium, when she sees the outline of the surgeon, the new mascot she was instructed to find, when someone from behind knocks her out unconscious. Waking up to the horrifying voice of the multi-armed surgeon, he goes on explaining how disgusted he is by humans and their limitations, indicating that he wants to experiment on the protagonist, asking one of his assistants for scissors.
Grab me the scissors. At this very moment, you might think of yourself as unlucky, but I am here to tell you that you're actually privileged. Privileged to be part of my operations. You'll die as part of something greater than yourself, not as some loser that nobody will remember. Those aren't the scissors. How many times do I have to keep between hammers and scissors? You useless waste of resources! You think Givanium grows on trees? Well, you're getting repurposed.
The clear lack of competence due to clumsy experimentation shows when the assistant fails to differentiate between scissors and hammer, bringing the surgeon a hammer, causing him to blow up, killing the assistant on the spot, and revealing all these assistants are the result of Givanium, which the surgeon used to create these little slaves around him to serve him, disregarding them for anything more than tools for his ambitious desires to create an experiment. Somehow, the surgeon doesn't experiment on the protagonist and instead chooses to repurpose one of these assistants, leaving the protagonist alone in the room. After some time, the protagonist fully regains her consciousness and walks out, having no restraints or chains to worry about. Exploring the place, the protagonist clearly sees that the surgeon is repurposing the green assistant. Walking some more, she finds a note, seemingly by the surgeon, shedding some light on his past life and backstory. Given my situation, there are a million other things I could be doing right now, and yet some strange verse inclines me to write my thoughts down. Despite my predicament, I am not disappointed. No, I am glad. It is finally time to show the world the true extent of my skills. I am more than just a machine for animal manufacturing. It is time to put my masterful contingency plans to use. Too bad my only audience will be my own children, which I doubt will have the right quantity of appreciation for the intricacy of my plans. It is now up to me to lead these poor souls to salvation. The Snow reveals that the surgeon used to be involved heavily in experimentation and creation of Givanium entities, or as he puts it down himself, animal manufacturing department. However, they seemingly turn him into a multi-armed monstrosity that he is now, which he didn't see as a curse but a blessing, as it somehow has helped him achieve his psychotic goals of greater good and salvation of the world by more controversial experiments. And unfortunately, who better to use than the green entities he has labeled as his children, entities which he most likely created himself. And salvation from what? It's clear that his grand scheme was to free themselves from the the humans and their oppressors in the organization. So he possibly fought them and most likely killed many. The protagonist then thinks of an ingenious plan in order to get the surgeon on her side, as he can truly help her with her journey. The plan to create a trap for the surgeon, putting him at risk of dying, then helping him, which surprisingly works, and the surgeon himself even notices the protagonist put up the trap herself.
I'm a surgeon of my word. I won't hurt you, and not after saving me from your own doing.
Despite that, we get some crucial information about what's happening. Sir Dadadu has put majority of the mascots under his spell. Some are still intact, which can help the protagonist retain the scepter. The surgeon has created a graph of who's been affected and who unaffected. The surgeon gives the protagonist an updated remote which controls the drones even better and more precisely, instructing her to find the green gorilla, Jumbo Josh, so maybe Dadadu won't put him under his spell. The surgeon then continues that Dadadu wasn't always so angry and hostile, and in fact, he was one of the first ones who stood against the ones who experimented on them, with majority of mascots being scared to defy their oppressors, leading to some sort of conflict and vendetta between the mascots, with the surgeon being one of those Dadadu is vengeful of. Leaving the surgeon's presence and finding a case update report about him, it's revealed how he was created to serve a purpose of being a machine and an operator who is capable of doing many surgical things. So instead of feeling used and experimented on, the surgeon feels blessed and privileged to have turned into such a monster, valuing the skills that it has acquired. Finding another note, updating on case 4, the surgeon, it expands on his creations, the green entity assistants, which were labeled cases 4B. This action was not discouraged as the organization was intrigued by the creation that they made, known to be the surgeon. In order to find Jumbo, the protagonist goes down to a town which the surgeon has made, becoming known as the mayor of the place. This shows the great autonomy of the Forgotten Ones who created their own cities and kingdom free from the humans above. In the city, the cases 4B show a great dislike and hate towards humans to the point that they don't even allow them in their public bars and other places, with the only thing holding them from hurting the protagonist being that the mayor, the surgeon, has sent her down here, being under his protection. This is yet again due to the mistreatment that they received from the humans who experimented on them and disposed of them if they didn't see them as worthy or useful enough. Exploring the town some more to find the witness of the whereabouts of Jumbo Josh, a bewitched bitter giggle chases after the protagonist when Sheriff Toadster intervenes, saving the protagonist, but in the process, accidentally killing Bitter Giggle, which gives Bitter Giggle a few moments of clarity with the spell gun, being back to his normal self, having an emotional moment together with Toadster bidding him farewell. Giving Toadster some space to mourn the death of his friend, the protagonist's parent finds a note from her child updating her on his whereabouts and how he feels. Right after, the protagonist finds the jellyfish, Stinger Flynn, who explains that the Dadadu's tricks don't work on him. Hence, he's managed to hide all the children, but even then, he's worried the naughty ones would get a hold of the children and hurt them. Stinger Flynn then goes on to show another nonsensical flashback to the protagonist of the mascots flying to the so-called beach, which as always ends in a conflict. Moving on, the protagonist takes an exam under the supervision of a mind-controlled Bambolina, and managing to do a good job, she finds a way out of her grasp. Soon, the protagonist reunites with the surgeon, who instructs her to do some tasks in order to create a trap for Dadadu and ambush him. This trap works like a charm, luring Dadadu right to their place. Sir Dadadu explains he already expected a trap, summoning his army of mind-controlled mascots, when Jumbo Josh is lured here as well, who single-handedly destroys all of Dadadu's army, including him, and eventually destroying the scepter in the process. This creates a massive explosion given the magical power of the scepter, making the protagonist pass out. It turns out Dadadu was one of the fighters who convinced many to fight against the oppressive organization, but it backfired on him when the humans won, with many of the mascots cowering and following the humans, trapping all the mascots who wouldn't yield, becoming known as the naughty ones, who formed a strong dislike and hate towards humans and other mascots who betrayed them, with Dadadu being one of the naughty ones. Waking up on a hospital bed, the surgeon explains it's better that the scepter is destroyed anyway, as it contained too much power. This led to the spell being broken, with every mascot back to normal and the naughty ones all being dead, the ones who were punished to be kept in the queen's pouch. Just then, the protagonist notices there's another drawing behind Banban's mural. When she tries to peel it, with the encouragement of Stinger Flynn, the surgeon starts acting strange, trying to discourage her from doing it. Regardless, she does it, finding a blue Banban look-alike known as Flumbo or the Blue Devil, when the surgeon knocks out the protagonist, saying not to play with the devil. This brings the chapter to an end, revealing the surgeon had ulterior motives to begin with and a secret that he has been hiding. It was clear from the beginning how he treated cases 4B and how little he regarded to them as, to how he is a double agent, a two-faced entity who pretends to be on a group side, but all he does is a one-sided action only for himself, caring little for anyone but himself. We saw how the assistants had a complex city life, bars, their own opinions and much more. Therefore, they were conscious and sentient, with the treatment they received from the surgeon being unjustified. If the surgeon could do something like that to the assistants, it would be only a matter of time that he would gain more power and treat anyone else like that. And if you remember, he did say that he has a big dislike to the humans and he finds them disgusting and useless. He wanted to experiment on the protagonist to begin with. So who's Flumbo anyway? And what will it be doing? Why did the surgeon try to keep its identity a secret? And why was it covered by a painting of Banban? Well, that's something we will learn in the next chapter. But by the looks of it, Flumbo seems to have been the original and the predecessor of Banban, who was disposed of, with Banban taking its place. That's it for this video, folks. I truly hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to stay tuned for more by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. As always, it's been your host Star, and I will see you on the next one. Have a fantastic day.